Hey, Morris, welcome to the show, buddy. Good to have you on.
It's great to be here, Brian. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this interview. And you recently started a business. Okay, you're a lifelong entrepreneur, really. We'll get into that during the show, but you recently launched a business that I want people to hear about. Tell us a little bit about the business that you launched and how you ultimately ended up with this particular business ideas. Because, like I said, you've been a lifelong entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I started a bookkeeping business. It's now about 2.5, 3 months ago. And, I've, like you said, I've tried, several different businesses. In conversations that I had with you, you told me, because I had told you that I was looking to start something new. And you had mentioned to me that to look at what I'm doing currently and see if there's an opportunity with a skill you already have and you're already utilizing, that maybe you can do that, and that could be a springboard to starting a business. And that's
Okay.
exactly what I did.
Okay. And so what do you do in your current work? Because you do have a 9 to 5 job. So what are you doing there?
Yeah. So basically, I work for a synagogue here locally, and I handle all of the bookkeeping for them, billing customers, paying vendors, as well as other things. But those are two of the main things that I do. And then I just thought of seeing if there are other either synagogues or individuals, businesses that need a similar service that I'm already providing to the synagogue. Maybe I can help them as well.
Yeah. Okay. So you started a couple of months ago. And I remember that conversation with you because, we were talking about a lot of different things. And you said, and we focused on like, hey, you already know how to do this. Now you just got to go figure out how to get leads. How long did it take you to get your first client once you kind of went all in and said, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, it was about 3 weeks. Started mid-February, February 21st, first actually. We had the first client signed up March 12th.
Awesome. Okay. That's a great win. A lot of people are trying different stuff. It might take them 3 months, 6 months, a year before they even really have a full understanding of the thing that they're trying to do. You already know how to do your job. You're doing it well. You just went out and found customers. So maybe talk a little bit about how you were able to find these folks and like what you were doing. Because again, you're working a full-time job and you have a family life as well. You're not just free all day long.
Yeah, I'm not. yeah, so basically what I did was I started searching the internet. Well, first I started with my network, people that I know, and started to just mention to them what I'm doing. I went and I got a list of synagogues throughout the country, started reaching out to them to see if they had a need. I also searched the internet. I did a search to see how to find clients for a bookkeeping business, found a website that actually people who are looking for bookkeeping help, where
Mhm.
they post their situation online, and you could basically apply to the job. So did really all of those things to spread a wide net to
Yep.
see what I can get. And the first customer I got was from that website, an individual that needed help bookkeeping. And then shortly thereafter, I got a synagogue who was looking for help as well.
Awesome. All right. You're a super resourceful guy. We've known each other for a long time. You've always utilized your network, but I mean, that's something I think most people overlook. It's like, hey, I don't know who to market to. It's like, look at your phone, right? Everything's in your phone. You did that. Now, the other question I want to ask you, Morris, is you didn't do this all by yourself. Again, full 9 to 5 job, busy life. You got family, you got kids, you got obligations. How are you able to do this on the side? Because you're already getting clients, right? But you still have to work a full-time job. So how are you like supporting your clients?
Yeah. So basically, again, like you mentioned, through my phone book, in a previous business that I had, I actually had overseas a virtual assistant who helped me with doing bookkeeping.
Mhm.
I actually reached out to him to see if he'd be able to help me on things that I didn't have the time to do, if he would be able to help me with it. So he was instantly interested, very interested in helping out. And he told me he has a team. Not only is it him, but he has a team of 4 people as well. Pretty much instantly, I have a team that's helping me getting this work done.
Awesome. And that's an advantage for you and your clients because you have a team of people and you have the ability to support, smaller, medium-sized business. We're going to get to that in a minute about the types of companies that you're helping. But a lot of, I think, freelance bookkeepers, and I may be using that term incorrectly, are probably largely doing a lot of the work themselves, and they're just basically creating another job. I want the listeners to understand that that's not what Morris is doing here. He's building a business and he's utilizing his network and he's building a team, and he's taken those skills that he's learned over his entrepreneurship journey. Again, this isn't his first rodeo. Anything to add there, Morris?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you said. I feel like a lot of people, when they're starting something, they feel like they have to go at it alone. And it's so important to be able to lean on people to help because, like you said, I'm pretty busy. And when I first, started thinking of this idea, I said, how am I going to get this done with all the other things all the other responsibilities that I have? And it's almost like it's like stops you. But then you have to realize that there are other people who have the skill that you need, especially when you're going, outside the United States. It's not so expensive to be able to utilize those people to help you, and they expand on your skill. So, in other words, you have a skill, they have that skill, but maybe, more of a broader skill,
Yeah.
like this, where I was calling one person to help me. Now I have a team of 5 people that are helping me, and each one, has their thing, their forte that they can handle. So now I feel like I can handle so much more when I bring out other people to help me.
And that's what you're focused on is getting more clients and building the business and building out the teams and the systems and all that. That's what it's all about so that you
Exactly.
can eventually be doing this full time. That's your vision, correct?
Yes, correct. I mean, I love what I do, but it's very different when you're working for somebody and when you're doing it on your own. And
Okay.
that I want to get back to that.
Talk a little bit about, because again, I know this to be true. You're in our mastermind and we talk a lot. I think there's a lot of people who are listening to the show that just think they discount what you probably yourself discounted for a long time, which is like, hey, I know how to do this thing. I'm pretty good at it. I'm already solving a problem. I'm getting paid for it. Other people are going to pay me too. They probably have the same problem. So I think a lot of us just don't think about that. We just say, hey, I don't like this work. I don't like this job. And they associate the actual work with the bad job experience, the bad boss experience, or the commute, or whatever it is, and just completely say, well, I have to do something totally different, like real estate or wholesaling or trading stocks or whatever it is, something completely different. And that can take a long time to do. So, what went off in your head in terms of the light bulb where it was just, I'm going to stop doing these other things that are going to take a lot of time, and this is what I can actually do? What changed for you?
Yeah, it's actually it was a conversation that I had with you, and you actually told it to me, and you said, "Why don't you look at things that you're already doing, that you already know?" And that was the light bulb because exactly what you said. I always thought, now, okay, I want to start a business. I got to now educate myself on this new skill that I want to have for this new business that I'm going to create. And you told me, just look at what you're already doing. So that went like, okay, so now there's no learning curve. I was able to make that decision, right away. Okay, this is something that I'm doing already. Why don't I just do that? I didn't have to now find a course online that can teach me how to do whatever. I'm basically doing it. I have done it for years. Okay, now just offer that service to other people who are going to need it as well.
Yeah.
So it was a big mind shift for me when I started thinking that way. And it made me hit the ground running without having that learning curve that I needed to, and that skill that I needed to develop.
Which is a big part of it. And then now you just have to learn. You already you experience with business, but for people who are listening, be like, well, I don't know how to do all the stuff that Morris is doing. Those are the things that you have to learn. And if you get around the right people, and a lot of it is figuring it out. Like I can tell you guys that Morris started the business and didn't have everything, all the pieces put together. It was like, hey, I'm just going to go out and focus on getting a client. And I think if you can have that mindset where I know how to do this, I can service people, I'm just going to go out and get a client, and then I'll figure all the rest of it out later. Thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. Me included, we overthink things. And you don't need to figure out all the everything if you don't have a client. If you don't get a client, you don't have anything. So get the client, and systems and all that kind of stuff can come after that.
Yeah.
And just one other thing I wanted to touch on, because I think it's super important. Throughout my journey with different businesses and stuff like that, I never wanted to have a partner. I always felt like I wanted to do it on my own. For whatever reason, I didn't want to share the money and, all of that kind of stuff. But what I think I discounted is you may not need a partner, but sometimes you need another point of view. You need another voice.
Hmm.
I was always hesitant, like I said, to have a partner, but having you, Brian, help me throughout these steps has been invaluable, because a lot of the things that may be a block for me, you were able to help me and guide me. And that people need that. You can't do everything yourself, and you can't, it becomes daunting. But when you have somebody that you can bounce ideas off of, and somebody gives you different ideas, I think it's super important. And I definitely wouldn't have been able to go as quickly as I have gone without your help and your support.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Morris. And guys, look, some of you are familiar with Morris who are listening. This guy's an action taker, and he can give me all the credit he wants. But at the end of the day, you got to be willing to do the work. Like, I don't go over to his house at night and tell him to call people, right, and build the team. He does it. So that is always the difference between people who are in business and people who are dabbling, right? Is Morris takes the stuff that we talk about, and he runs with it, right? And he doesn't need to know all the answers. And I love that you brought that up about having even partners or a team of people. I think a lot of people are afraid to hire because they don't think they're going to do it as well as you could do it. And on the flip side, which I don't even think people think about, is that they might be fearful that that person might do the job better than they could, which could be something that, people who have egos may not want to deal with.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the bookkeeping business, because look, everybody who's in business needs to have their books taken care of. I have somebody that takes care of my books. I want no part of that. So let's talk about number one. Do you run across clients who are just completely ignoring this? Let's start with that.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily just businesses. I've run across, now that I'm out there and I'm speaking to people about this.
Mhm.
I mean, it's widespread. I mean, people don't want to deal with it. It's just like it's a headache. And to be honest with you, when people are not doing great, they like to just avoid looking at how not great they're doing.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's definitely a problem, and I guess rightfully so. They're singly focused. They need to get business. They need to service the customers that they have, and the bookkeeping really shouldn't take from that. Small businesses that just have one, two, three people, trying to keep the business going, growing the business, the bookkeeping goes by the wayside, and people start panicking around this time because it's tax time. But if you have that set up throughout the year and you have somebody handling it, tax time doesn't have to be a stressful time. And that's catching up now for the last 12 months of all the bookkeeping and all that stuff that wasn't done. So if
Yeah.
you have you have somebody who's handling it, it's just it's so much. It's just something that you could set it and forget it, and have a professional deal with it.
Right. I think you brought up a couple of good points. Number one, people don't know how to do it, right? That's not their jam. They're either, good at the thing, you're good at bookkeeping. You can obviously keep your books, but if you were doing something else, you would need this service. What are the consequences for a person or a business, a small or medium-sized business, if they're ignoring this, or they're not doing a good job of it? Maybe they're kind of dabbling it or doing it correctly. What are some of the consequences that they could be faced with, either come tax time or just in general?
So I think the biggest one is not realizing when it comes tax time that they have this huge tax bill that they weren't expecting,
Mm.
that now they have to pay, and they have to find the money to pay it. If you're on top of the books throughout the year, you can plan for that, and you could be prepared for that bill that's going to come at tax time. So that I think is the biggest thing. And then just in general, just to know where you stand, where the business stands. or where you stand personally, to be able to easier to budget, to be able to figure out what to spend on, maybe that you don't have excess, so maybe you shouldn't buy that treat that you want to buy yourself
Yeah.
or something. So just having an idea of where you stand with your finances, I think is just beneficial. But like I said at the beginning, the first thing is just not having a catastrophe come when the tax bill comes.
Which we don't want. And this is something that you can maybe spend a couple hours a month on. Am I right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, sometimes if it's a small business or somebody personally, it could even be less than that. It doesn't take a lot of time, but first of all, you feel good. You could take a look at reports at a glance and know exactly where you stand, where you need to make changes if those changes need to be made. So it just gives you a better feeling about the business, about yourself personally, that you understand where the finance, where you stand financially.
Awesome. Okay, so let's now go to a scenario where a client of yours, and maybe you have a story that you can share, a win that you can share, where their books are being done correctly, right? They're not doing the wrong stuff. They're using you. What are some of the advantages of that other than the tax situation?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. There's a synagogue that got behind on their bills, on sending out bills, and they haven't been billed in I think months, or it was a long time. It was fascinating that once we started sending bills and started updating the books on exactly what was going on, the money started rolling in. They were able to now have the flexibility. Now that they have the money in hand, they were paying people that they hadn't paid for in months. They were able to get better deals because they were able to pay on time. So it's just, it's the books, but it could be very widespread throughout the business, how much it can help a business to be able to be on top of billing people, paying people, receiving money. So all of these things, they all work together, but it definitely helps the business at large.
Yeah, collect more money and get the invoices out. I mean, that's a major win. Good share. I'm glad I asked you that.
Mm.
Okay, I don't think I asked you what the name of your business is. So if you could please share that with us. What's the name of your business?
It's Shul Bookkeeping,
Okay.
and that's our website as well, Shul, which is SHUL bookkeeping.com.
We'll leave that in the notes for sure. Is there a particular type of customer, the client that you're helping, or I mean, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, like I said before, we started out where we were focusing on synagogues, but right now it's across the board. It's individuals, like I said, it's nonprofit synagogues, churches, and then it's businesses, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, where we can help everybody. And once you get into the books, 95% is all the same. It's just the amount of transactions, but transactions are transactions. So it's very, very similar, when you're dealing with all the different things. We started, like I said, when we started just with synagogues, because that's what I was familiar with. But then I realized that I can really help everybody. So
Yeah.
we expanded.
Which is not something that you necessarily saw when you first got into this. It was like, well, I'm going to focus, I'm going to hone in here. And then you realize, okay, what you just said, this is all pretty much the same across the
Yep,
board.
exactly.
And then the fact that you have a team, I think is super helpful. I might have touched on this before, but I remember a conversation you and I had where you had some maybe not great thoughts about, well, what if I'm not doing the work? This is another fear. Maybe you could touch upon that. And the prospect, once you told them you have a team, was kind of like, oh, that's what we would prefer. So maybe touch on that, because I think that that's a big misconception. Like, hey, if I'm not doing the work, if I'm not the actual person, then they're not going to hire me.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was having a conversation with someone. He has a nonprofit, and he was telling me how much time he needed. He needed a few hours a week, and I was like a little hesitant to tell him, if it's okay, I'm not really going to be doing it all myself. I have a team that would help me. And he was like, "Oh, great. That's exactly what we're looking for. We don't want to rely on just one person." So where I was looking at it as a negative, he opened my eyes to the fact that it's a positive, because people don't want to rely on one person, and they don't want all their bookkeeping to be relying on me. but I have a team now. So if I can't handle it, the team can. And it's more than one person in the team. So the same thing. If one of the people can't do it, or there's a specialty that this nonprofit has, and we have somebody on the team who's more familiar with nonprofits, then they can get that job. So it's actually not a negative, exactly what you said, Brian. And
Mhm.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize that, and I was looking at it as a negative, but it's really not.
It's a good lesson for all of us to hear, Morris. So I appreciate you sharing that. Give us some of the other businesses that you looked at over the course of your entrepreneurial career. Again, this isn't the first business that you've been involved with, and then again, that's part one, and then part two is I just want to ask you like, what's different for you, maybe mindset wise, or anything that you could share about then versus right now.
Yeah, so I've looked at several different businesses, and it's funny because before this one, all of them was me learning a completely different skill than what I had. So I'll go to the last question at first. That's the difference mindset wise. All of those things that I've done, and I'll list a few of them, but those other businesses that I did, starting was, I would say, probably months of educating myself and figuring it out and all of that, where this was idea, implement, and it was like within a couple weeks. I mean, if that long. So I owned a public warehouse company.
Mhm.
I did that for about 8 years. I didn't really like that business too much. So I actually tried something that was completely different. I actually had a cell phone rental business for a few years. I ended up selling that business. Along the way, and then I did e-commerce. I sold on Amazon, sold on Etsy. I did that, and then I got into the real estate business, purchasing houses creatively.
Mhm.
So I did that for a while. Then I went into the W-2 that I currently still have, and then now started the bookkeeping business.
Okay, so you tried a lot of different things. Why do you think, and this may be a difficult question to answer, I think it's difficult for a lot of people. Why do you think we ignore what we're doing? And again, real estate, wholesaling, the other businesses that you mentioned were completely different. The cell phone business, like, why do you think you went there and just ignored what you knew how to do?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I think what you said before, when you said it, it stuck with me. I think we relate the surrounding part of the job or the business with the business. So in other words, if you don't like your boss, or you don't like the environment that you're working in, or you don't like the commute, like you said, you automatically say that this whole thing is out. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Um, and I just feel like that was probably my attitude as well. If there were certain things about that business I didn't like going from the warehouse business to the cell phone business. I actually, in my mind, I remember thinking I want to do something completely different than this because I didn't enjoy the warehouse business. So let me find something completely different. Looking back now, there were probably things in the warehouse business that I could have did, which would have been a quicker and easier transition to that new business, and just take the things that I liked of that business and translate it, figure out what I could have done to make a new business from there that
Yeah.
was more something that I would like to do,
Right.
uh,
Or that you were good at too. Right.
or
Yeah.
that I was good at. Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think it's just the way it is for some reason, and just people just discount without considering at all. It's just an all or nothing type of a situation. Like I don't really like going to this place at all, so it's all I don't like all of it. I'm getting rid of all of it, even
Right.
though like, hey, I bookkeeping is something that I don't hate, or sales is something that I actually enjoy doing, or I enjoy doing this particular work. I just don't like going there to do it, right? Or I don't like being told what to do. I don't like having to ask for vacation. So just look for the sections of that particular job that you might actually enjoy. I just think we just say, you know what, I'm done closing the door on that forever, and I'm just going to learn how to do real estate.
Yep,
Yeah.
totally. And again, I'll go back to it and having somebody to talk to about that, where again, I have a blind spot. I don't want to do this anymore. But if you speak to somebody, they have a different perspective of it. So yeah, why do you have to throw out everything? Why can't you find something in that you like? And that's exactly what Brian did for me and made me realize that I don't have to just create something brand new and start from scratch. Just take something that I enjoy doing and that I'm good at and go from there.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you've done that. We've had some other people in our mastermind group that are doing something very similar in terms of taking what they've already done and just at least explore that, right? At least explore that first. And if it ends up not being something that you enjoy, at least you know that you didn't waste a bunch of time learning a skill that maybe you're not going to like. Because I think that's what happens to people is they spend all this time, and if that cycle repeats itself, then they get to the point where they know they program themselves to be, well, I've done this before. I've learned this new thing before and it didn't work out. I'm not going to waste any more of my time learning something new and it's not going to work. Look at what you already got first.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important, and it shortens the from implementation to success.
Yeah. Shorten the timeline. Okay. That's one thing that people can do is look at what they have. Now we've talked a little bit about how you manage your business and how you're outsourcing. You got team members, you got people helping you with stuff because again, you're busy. Anything else that you would suggest in terms of like your time management? Because again, you're a busy guy, you got a family. Like what else are you doing that we haven't touched upon that can help the listeners today?
Yeah, so I think what's important is at the beginning of every day to have certain things, not a lot, just a couple of things that must get done that day to move the business forward. So I would say not more than two or three things. You have to either time block it or something. It has to get done that day. And if you do that every day, you have no idea how quickly you're going to progress. And you have to be either have somebody that you're accountable to, or if you're able to do it and be accountable to yourself, then that's fine. But I think it's more powerful to have somebody that you're accountable to, that I have to get at the end of the day, I have to tell this person these three things that were on my list today, I got done. I have it with you, Brian. I think it's super helpful. It keeps me on task. It makes sure that I do what I set out to do, and it just helps me progress the business so much quicker than if I didn't do that.
Yeah, needle movers. I think that if more people added accountability to their lives, that they would get a lot more done. It's a fearful thing to do. It's hard to have people hold you accountable, and you've done a great job of that. But it all starts with you. Again, you're the one who does it, right? Like maybe the fact that you have to report to our mastermind every week, and same with me, you still got to do it to yourself, right? It starts with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes when you don't feel like you want to do it, you know that you have somebody you're gonna have to tell that to. And that gives it a little bit added incentive to make sure that you get it done.
Yeah, completely. While we're on this topic, I mean, I had something that I was intentionally avoiding because it was hard, and I had to go meet with somebody, and I had to, I had an accountability, and I did the thing. I did the thing because I did not want to go in there and say, hey, I didn't do what I said I was going to do. So that stuff matters, and it was really up to the last minute. It was probably like a couple hours before, but I did it, and that moves mountains. If I didn't have to go to that place, if you didn't have to do accountability with me and the group, maybe you wouldn't be where you are right now.
No, I mean, I can remember many times where I'm very busy during the day. I got a lot of things going on, and now it's 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I'm like, oh boy, I didn't do my what I needed to do. And
Right.
I got to tell Brian at the end of the day, what happened. And I'll stop what I'm doing and get those things done because I want to make sure that I'm able to tell Brian, okay, got it done. I'm able to tell the group on Thursday, this is what I said I was going to do, and I did it. I mean, it's super powerful. I can't understate it enough.
Me neither. And I've been finding out that that's really what is missing from a lot of people's lives. What are some of you said little things? What are some of the little things that you're doing? So we touched upon that, but I want people to understand like you're not, this isn't crazy stuff here. What are some of those little things?
Yes. So, couple of things. One is posting on LinkedIn. I do that. I try to do it religiously every day.
Mhm.
The other thing is following up with people that I've had conversations with or expressed interest in bookkeeping. I make sure that I touch base with them, make sure that when let's say I told them I was going to call them in a week, I make sure that I'm following up when I said I would follow up, doing what I said I said I was going to do. Again, prospecting, posting somewhere, speaking to somebody. For instance, somebody saw my LinkedIn post. They said, I know this company that's very behind on their bills, and why don't you reach out to them? So again, I make sure that I reach out to prospect pretty much every single day to keep getting more clients.
There it is. Lead gen and follow up. Notice, guys, he didn't say anything about doing the actual thing of bookkeeping, getting clients. This is the work that most of you will not do. You'll open up a business or you'll start something and you're doing all these, I got to set up the website, I got to pick that, like all that stuff you got to do, but that's where you spend the most of your time, and you don't do what Morris is doing every single day. That's the stuff that gets you your clients in 2 to 3 weeks, is by focusing on lead gen. That's all you have in the beginning. You have nothing else. That's it.
No customers, no business. So
Yeah. What do you need a website for if you have no customers?
exactly.
Right. Now that's important, but we focus too much on the stuff that doesn't matter. The stuff that matters is what Morris just said. He does it every single day. And that's why he has turned his business, or he's built this business in a short amount of time, and he will continue to do it because he's going to continue doing that.
I just want to touch on the website thing. I think the business was 2 months old with no website. So, I mean, you don't need it. Again, you need it. Everybody needs it. Everybody wants to see that. But again, it's not something that, has to be done right away. Get customers. You'll tell them the website is under construction right now. It'll be up there soon. So,
It will be.
yeah, it's not a big deal.
Be truthful. You tell them that, you tell them what you do. People, I think, you got to make up these stories of it. No, just tell them the truth. Just tell them what you're doing, right? Yeah. And that normally comes across that's in a positive way. You think it's not going to. You think you have to have all this stuff, all these reviews, and it's like, no, you don't. You got to start somewhere. All of us started at zero. Morris, this has been tremendous. Thank you for sharing your really inspiring story. I'm so glad that it's working out for you. I know it will continue to. And the other thing that you've done, if you stop looking at all this other stuff, all these other businesses, like you're just focused on this.
Yeah, we didn't touch on that, but that's a big thing for me. I'm always looking. I have that shiny object syndrome, and with your help, you've told me to just focus on this and just nothing else, and that's what I've done, and it's you could tell.
Yeah, well, you've done a great job of it. Super, super proud and glad to have you on the show. And I'm looking forward to seeing this business continue to grow. And you got some big targets. I know you're going to get there. Before we wrap up, Morris, anything that you want to leave us with, maybe that I forgot to ask you? I always ask, like, guests if they have like a favorite quote or something, or just any final thought. Like, what do you got, Morris? Hit us with your best stuff.
Okay.
No pressure.
Yeah. I think the truth is, if you have a passion, if you have something that you want to accomplish, don't be stuck. Don't be stuck in you have a job, let's say, but you really want to start a business. You got to do it. Time is going fast. And if you don't act on it, it's never going to happen. You have to just decide. And then not only decide, you got to take action. And just keep taking action every single day, and you'll get there. You'll reach your goal. Just got to keep moving forward.
Love it. It truly is that simple. Thank you, sir, for being on and sharing your story with us. I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people. I look forward to having you back on when you are hitting your goal of where we want to go. We're not going to talk about that right now, but it's a big goal, and I know he's going to get there. Morris, thanks again, buddy. Everyone, make it a great day.
Brian, you're the best. Thank you.